Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can really modernize the song It Could Happen to You and apply some really interesting traditional jazz piano techniques to the song, but then also actually get a lot more bang for your buck. I'm going to talk about things like intervallic and diatonic chord motion, but then actually teach you how to apply this specifically to a jazz standard. And just in general, I'm going to show you how you can really expand the amount of creativity and enjoyment that you get out of playing a jazz standard. So if that sounds interesting, be sure to stay tuned. And of course, if you're new here, click that subscribe button. All right, let me show you an example of what I mean. All right, so what was I doing in the example here? Well, there are a lot of different techniques, and I like to think of them all as part of a methodology that I refer to as infinite improv. And the reason I think of it that way is because instead of focusing on more vocabulary, what we focus on are techniques that are actually going to give you the tools you need to take any single little bit of vocabulary that you have and make the absolute most of it, be so much more creative with it. That's the whole point of what I like to call the infinite improv system. So let's dive into what some of those tools look like. So the first concept I want to show you, and this could potentially completely change the way you play solo piano especially, is the concept of bass leading. Now, jazz musicians often tend to play tunes like this. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you may have noticed that I'm always playing the root of each chord at the bottom of the voicing. So that is not what I would call bass leading. So voice leading, of course, is the concept of each voice in a chord, well, potentially being an actual singer, an actual human voice. And when that's the case, we want each voice to move as little as possible to get to the next chord, because we think of it like each singer is singing an inner melody that makes sense. Well, the bass player would just be singing things like this if we did it that way, right? Not particularly melodic. Now, I wish I remembered all the details of my classical theory. I don't. But, of course, we're taught something called figured bass. And in figured bass, the bass line moves much more melodically. We might actually try to find ways to get from chord to chord much more chromatically, or just going a half or whole step, as opposed to doing all these big fourth and fifth jumps just to get the bass notes. In jazz, we can actually think this way as well, and I like to call this bass leading because we're allowing the bass line and its melodicism to lead the voice leading of the rest of our voicings. So check this out. So instead of going to this G to C, we're actually doing E diminished, right? And so that allows our bass to just move a half step. Same thing here. And I'll show you just in here as an extra little trick, one of my favorite diminished voicings right here. To make this a normal diminished chord, we'd have this. So this would be, you know, for F sharp diminished, we'd have 1, flat 3, flat 5, and then down here would be the double flat 7. But instead of the 5, what we're actually going to do is this. Check that out. So what we essentially have here is E flat diminished major 7 over F sharp, And we get this really beautiful sound. It's just a little bit more interesting than the normal diminished, in my opinion. So now here, your instinct may actually be to go back to an E flat, and a rooted E flat. Well, when we're bass leading, we're saying, where does our melody of the bass line actually want to go? And where, to me, it wants to go is up to G, which is a diatonic tone of E flat. So why not do a chord that is an E flat major, but with a G in the bass? There's a beautiful chord that you will hear a lot. This is an E flat major with a sus2. Of course, over G, I should say. So that allows us to go up to A flat. So check out this bass line. Keep going like this. Look at how little our bass line has actually moved. So one great way I like to have people practice this concept of bass leading is literally just by taking triads. So you have to basically go through the tune in just triad versions of the tune. And notice how I'm doing a lot of different inversions of these triads, and that is the whole point. The bass line stays melodic. So that's a really, really important concept that could completely change the way you play solo piano, because now you're not stuck always playing rooted voicings. And of course, I do want to take a quick second to shout out something important here, which is that my Jazz Piano Evolutions course is currently open for the first time in an entire year. We only take 75 students at once because we do these live streams, and I want to make sure that people have time to ask their questions and really get a good experience being part of the course. If you are interested, we talk about tons of these infinite improv concepts in the course. This is the most cutting edge course that I've ever recorded and put together. If you've taken my first course, Jazz Piano Secrets, then you know that I work so hard to have absolutely the highest quality value and content in these courses. And I genuinely think that if you actually take my Jazz Piano Evolutions course and work through it, your playing will never be the same. You will just go up so many levels, and your creativity will just kind of blossom into all these different directions. I genuinely believe that, and I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it, because this is my business and I work really, really hard to create extremely valuable material. So if that sounds interesting to you, all I ask is that you click the link in the description, check out the info page, see if the course sounds like something that would be useful to you. And if the answer is yes, make sure to join by Friday night. The course registration window closes Friday night at midnight PST, or as soon as the course actually fills up those 75 slots. All right, let's get right back into the video because I have so many more cool things to show you over this tune. All right, so now let's take a look at some more harmony and voicing options. We've already talked about bass leading, and that's going to be really, really huge here, but let's talk about what else we can do. So one concept that I love to think about is just how do I just make a voicing that gets the point across but allows me to have the melody of the song at the top. So here, I'm just going to fill it in. Pretty little chord in my opinion. I love that sound. We've already talked about this diminished sound. We've talked about this. Now here's a really beautiful little tip. This is beautiful. So we're kind of doing A flat minor major here. We have the 9 on top and the 7, the major 7 in the left hand, and the 9 and 7 walk down like that. And then here we can land on a nice little G13. And notice, very simple voicing, it sounds great. Put the melody note on top. And we can do this. Now this is where our intervallic voicing movement comes into play. I've done a ton of videos on intervallic voicing movement, but basically it's just the ability to take any shape and just move it around intervallically. It doesn't change based on the scale, it's just always the shape stays the same. So here we can actually do. That lands us perfectly on the F minor. So this is an example of that, infinite improvisational concept giving you way more interesting material to add in the middle of a tune. Because normally we just do, or just that. It's also a nice movement, but we could actually get a little bit more out of this by doing that intervallic motion. Here's a really pretty voicing. If you can reach this spread, it's quite lovely. 1, 5, 3, flat 7, 9, sharp 11. There's a tip for you. Listen to that little trick. Inner motion resolution. We do this little sharp 5 and then resolve to the natural 6. Now here's a little spot where we could actually do some diatonic motion. Maybe we do. So basically all I'm doing is I'm taking shapes. Let's go to the F minor. I'm just moving each note to the next possible note in the F Dorian scale. Let's keep going. Let's see. So what I did there, it sounds like this amazing thing where it's like, how does Noah know so many voicings? I don't. I might never play those voicings again, but I took a shape and I'm just moving it through F Dorian with both hands. Sometimes it works better than others, and then I find a chord that works toward the end, and it gets me right back to E flat major. So that is a pro tip, right? The pros don't know every single voicing they're ever doing, but this is actually going to a concept that I chatted about this concept with my friend Taylor Eichste in a recent Jazz Lab episode. Make sure to check out that episode. And we talked about what Taylor calls the 49 chords method, and that is a way to really master moving shapes around different scales. And it's absolutely incredible for being able to do this stuff. Now, I want to show you one more example of the intervallic usage. So that was reharmonization using intervallic voicing movement. I'm going to take this melody and I'm going to do a little bit of melodic embellishment. Whoop, now I'm going to do. So I resolve to the E flat. Beautiful voicing, right? 1, 5, 9, flat 3, 11, flat 7, 9 doubled on top. Same exact voicing, right? It's the same shape. 1, 5, 9, flat 3, 11, flat 7, 9 doubled on top. Same shape. Same shape. Now I'm on E flat, so I'm going to resolve to major. There's our little intervallic and now diatonic. And this is a beautiful little resolution technique. We resolve to the, on the 1 we play the 1, diminished major 7, then resolve to the major. So hopefully that gives you a ton of beautiful ideas to use on It Could Happen to You. Now again, if you actually want to learn a lot of this stuff completely step by step and open up your ears to all sorts of new possibilities, my Jazz Piano Evolutions course is open right now for the first time in an entire year. Tons of the techniques, which are ear training techniques, playing techniques, hand independent techniques, and more for improvisation. Many of them I invented for myself originally and then really solidified for this course, specifically for this course. I have not actually seen them repeated anywhere else, a lot of these concepts and techniques. So I really recommend that you at least click the link in the description, check out the info page, and see if my Jazz Piano Evolutions course might be a good fit for you for taking your playing up many, many levels. Sometimes I like to say it's almost like you should get a t-shirt at the end that says, I completed Jazz Piano Evolutions, because if you simply work through the material, I truly believe you will never play the same way again. It is like going on a roller coaster, overcoming your fear and being like, I can go on any roller coaster now. So, link is in the description. And I'm just really excited about it. I'm really excited to see who ends up being there in the course with me. We will be doing live streams so you can ask questions. All right, I'll stop talking about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got a ton of valuable information from this video, and I hope it really expanded your creativity when it comes to playing the tune It Could Happen to You. Of course, a lot of these concepts can apply to other songs as well, so I encourage you to try them out. If you have any questions about this video or the course, please comment them below the video. I would love to hear and get into some discussion about it. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, click subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.